Okay, I tried to do the Doflamingo laugh, but I can't. Maybe I can, maybe it does sound better, but not the point. Let me begin into this what if, let me shut the fuck up. Yeah, so, sup you chuckle fucks, it's your boy Dark Reco here, and I just fucked up all of it, whatever. I don't care. Let me begin into this what if before my siblings go outside and be an annoying fucks bunch, but not the point. Let's see, what else do I have to explain? Oh, nothing else much. But let me just begin into this what if, let me shut the fuck up, and yeah. So, we begin into mostly, back into where I last left that off. Yes, I rewatched it because I didn't remember what the fuck I did. I was too tired yesterday at night. And I didn't fall asleep at 2 o'clock. I fell asleep at 3 o'clock and woke up at 11 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, 11:40 something in the morning. I was like, what the fuck? I woke up so damn late. If I had school, I would have like fucked myself. But nah, I don't have school. I have school after mostly afternoon. But that's just because I go to a trade school and not the point. Not the fucking point. Let me begin back into this what I started remembering on. But we go into mostly Issei right now walking. This is where, well, he's with his two friends, Matsuda and Murahama. This is where, well, they're actually questioning a little bit of what they are. They actually want to know why Issei quit, but mostly Issei just told them that not to question him too much. He doesn't like being questioned at all. So of course, mostly they're getting out of school because mostly not getting out of school. They were still in school. They were just walking to lunch and then getting back to class. But yeah, now of course this is where next class. Well, mostly next hour is actually like gym, and Issei is not. Nah, he's not gonna try. He doesn't care. The teacher does kind of tell him to try, but Issei literally just flips him off and doesn't care. The teacher gets annoyed, and of course the well. Mostly the teacher had a great idea to make some jocks to actually attack Issei. To actually show Issei that he's nothing even if he just, yeah. This is where, well, the jocks were going straight at Issei, and Issei just looks at this. And this is where, well, Issei looks at them and says, pathetic. This is where, well, they were getting close to Issei, but Issei grabs one from the face. And of course, lift his shit up because they're actually smaller than him because Issei's at least 6'3". While these people, well, they're not that small. They're actually quite big, but mostly Issei was still big enough. He grabs one from the face, lifting his shit up like it was nothing to him. While the other wind their eyes when they see Issei just picks up one of the like taller ones out of the other two. Issei just didn't care. He lifted his shit up in an instant. And this is where, well, Issei then saw one of them about to try to rush at him. He tried to tackle him. Issei noticed this, and this is where Issei kind of lifted his leg up in the air and axe kick him in the back. When the person was getting closer, bah! He crushed him down to the ground and like breaking some backbones of his, maybe even like breaking his spine. Issei did not care. He was a menace time. Issei was right now kind of crushing the guy's face in an instant. Issei says, "You pathetic weaklings, dare attack me. I'll show you never to mess with me again." Issei sees the other guy thinking of running away, which Issei got annoyed. Of course, well, Issei started walking towards the guy who's starting trying to run away. He's like, "Get away from me!" Like, yeah. This is where, well, mostly Issei did not care. And of course, well, he threw the guy up in the air, mostly let go of the guy's face, grabbed him from the leg, and then smashed him down right with the other guy. He says, "You pathetic weakling, don't you dare attack me." This is where, well, most of the gym teacher was like, "Oh, hell no." Issei then turns to the side and sees the gym teacher. He's not really looking at him with his eyes. He's looking with his glasses. And this is where, well, mostly the teacher has a worse feeling that he will die. Which mostly Issei just looks at the teacher. He mostly looks away. This is where, well, Issei got out his phone, and this is where, well, he started texting someone. But this is where, well, mostly the classroom ended. The teacher was frozen in fear. Everyone left after a while. They were all scared in how Issei really took out the jocks who had a care in the world. He's quite the most fearful person right now in the gym class. But we go into mostly Issei getting out of mostly his other classes, like after a while. But we go back into the gym teacher. The gym teacher was actually going to call Issei's parents. Because, well, yeah, because Issei literally fought mostly some children. And he wanted to get him in trouble. But before doing that, any of that, mostly someone busts through the door in an instant. And a tall man. When mostly having like his hair kind of shaved, but not that much. It's kind of just short, kind of like black hair. He has a black beard and mustache, but they're kind of shaved a little bit, where the beard is not that falling down on his face. It's kind of like shade a little bit, not much. This is where, well, he has like some kind of piece of bread, like a piece of bread near his cheek, like stuck there. And this is where, well, the man is right now wearing a kind of like grayish kind of like coat, a grayish coat with the kind of suit underneath, mostly because it has a tie and other things, but not the point. This is where, well, he has grayish pants and of course black shoes. The older gym teacher was confused and, well, who exactly this man is, but this guy busted through a metal door. Yes, the gym teacher does have a metal door, so not many rowdy kids can go annoy him too much. But this is where, well, the older looking man does have black shades. This is where, well, the gym teacher was confused, and this is where he tries to get up, but this is where, well, he had this weird instinct to not fuck with this guy. But the guy turned around to see the kind of chubby gym teacher, because yes, the gym teacher is kind of chubby. He's not strong or physically or any of that. Mostly they hire this guy just so they can try to train some of the kids to be a little bit more not fat or any of that. But yeah, but this is where, well, mostly the teacher says, who are you? This is where, well, the person walks up to mostly the teacher, and this is where, well, the person right now coated his hand. Mostly he had brown gloves, but this is where his hand just coated into black. This is where, well, the person punched this guy in the face so hard and started just wailing on this like teacher. Started beating his ass to near fucking break of death. No, this guy is already bloody. His face is nothing but mush. The person now walks out after a while. But yeah, this is where, well, the cameras were turned off. Now, there's actually were kind of glitching out in the first place. They didn't actually see anything because it was actually hacked in an instant. This is where, well, the person left after a while. So of course, no one would know who exactly murdered the teacher, but not the point. But we go into Issei kind of getting out of mostly school. Now, this is where, well, he actually felt like 3 people were about to attack him, or a bit more. But he was with mostly both of his friends, so he's thinking that mostly Rias is not going to be stupid. But this is where, well, speak of the devil, but when Issei and even Murahama Matsuda were about to walk away, both Matsuda and Murahama passed out. This is where, well, Issei didn't pass out because there was actually like a magical spell that was actually trying to knock all 3 of them out. Issei didn't get knocked out, but someone tried to attack him from behind. Issei turns around so fast, but mostly dodged a punch from mostly a white-haired girl. This is where Issei knees her in the stomach because she was basically right in front of him, about to pass by, but this is where Issei knees her in the stomach so hard, knocking her out. This is where breaking some ribs. This is where she coughed up some blood. And this is where, well, Issei then slapped the shit out of her and just smacking her into mostly like the ground. Now, mostly Issei and Murahama Matsuda were actually the last one left to kind of get out of school. They didn't want to go peep on anyone. They were just kind of confused in what Issei was doing. Mostly Issei was kind of really just walking around the school and not really caring too much. He didn't actually expect what the Murahama Matsuda to just stay so long with him to just keep talking other things. He was actually just in school still just so Rias can actually attack him, so he can actually show his true power against her, because he knows that leaving her will probably be a bad idea if he was weak, but he's not weak. This is what, well, he didn't notice was it called both of his friends being taken away from mostly by Akuno. Mostly Akuno takes what's it called both Matsuda and Murahama and brings them to mostly the nurse's office. But this is where, well, mostly she comes back with the teleportation magic, and this is where, well, a red-haired beauty, Akuno is back, and even a black-haired kind of beauty appears. Now, of course, Kuniko is knocked the fuck out. She was so pathetic in Issei's eyes, he didn't even need to coat his body in a special type of armament. But this is where, well, he just looks at these 3 people. And this is where, well, mostly one of them makes a light spirit while the others kind of get ready to fight him. Issei says, Issei starts chuckling evilly. This is where he puts his face over his hand, seeing how pathetic this is. This is where, oh, he doesn't see Kiba, but this is where Issei starts laughing, mostly chuckling. Issei started bursting into a very evil, malicious laughter. That's where, well, Issei says, you can't be fucking serious. 3 against 1? You should have brought a fucking army to take me out then. This is where, well, Rias says, are you being cocky? You're just a human. Issei says, oh, I am just a human. A human with a sacred gear, but I won't need the sacred gear to kick your ass back to hell. You pathetic, demonic bitch. This is where mostly Issei said. This is where mostly Rias growls at Issei, and how mostly Issei literally just tells her mostly she's a bitch, she's a whore, and other shit. Now, of course, mostly Reiner is still terrified of Issei. Issei literally took out Koneko so easily, and Reiner, she had a little trouble time with mostly kind of fighting against mostly Koneko sometimes, because Koneko is the rook and mostly Reiner is the bishop. But this is where she then just throws a light spear straight towards Issei because she actually wanted to kind of kill Issei. This is where she hated the fact that she's a devil. It was all Issei's fault. But this is where before the light spear can even like hit him, Issei grabs it with 2 fingers. He like just grabs it with mostly his index finger and his thumb. This is where he says, "What is this? This spear isn't condensed with that much light. Then again, you are a devil, so you should have used demonic energy. Pathetic crow, demonic bat." This is where mostly Reiner gets angry, and this is where Issei just destroys the spear with just 2 fingers. Pathetic. This is where lightning was about to smash onto him behind him, until Issei didn't really mostly dodge. She just let the lightning hit him, and it didn't do jack shit. Issei laughs even more, saying, "Is that all you have?" Issei says, "Is that all you have? That's really pathetic, you hybrid bitch." This is where Issei calls Akuno that, and this is where Akuno just grit her teeth because she thought lightning would actually hurt him, and lightning didn't hurt him at all. This is where Issei felt, or mostly saw into the future, that something was about to smash into him. He dodges to the right, and this is where it was basically destruction magic from mostly Rias. Rias is shocked to believe Issei managed to dodge it. Even Issei was distracted by Akuno. She thought mostly that would be the case to be able to hit him. But this is where, before even she can even react, Issei disappears from mostly Reiner and Rias' view. Issei appears right in front of Akuno and says, "You're a pathetic hybrid, a bitch that can't do anything. You're also such a slutty one. So, how about this?" Issei sends a powerful kick into her stomach in an instant. This is where mostly Akuno right now cough up so much blood. This is where she was launched into a fountain. This is where she smashes into it, and this is where she's knocked out for the count. Issei falls down to the ground. Like, he literally didn't fall down to the ground too hard. He fell down pretty, like, gracefully. This is where, Issei says, pathetic. This is where, mostly, Rias tries to attack him with destruction magic, but the destruction magic was easily cut down. Issei wasn't even like looking at the destruction magic. He was still looking at Akuno's kind of knocked out body. He wasn't even paying attention towards Rias. And Rias' destruction magic was destroying an instant. It like cut. And she was confused. Rias was like, "What? How?" This is where, mostly Reiner was also shocked. Mostly seeing how Issei easily was able to just cut the destruction magic. She's actually terrified now. Issei looks at mostly Rias. And mostly Issei kind of just walk up to her, which is mostly this like very just calm looking expression. And this is where Issei says, "What a pathetic bitch you are. You couldn't even hurt me even if you wanted to try." Issei basically kicked her into the stomach so hard, knocking her out. She falls down to the ground in an instant. Issei then looks towards Reiner. Reiner is trying to fly away. Issei said, "Do not like you trying to do that. Come back here, Reiner. It's not good for you to do something like that." This is where he releases pressure of energy to kind of make Reiner right now kind of will not spread out her wings. She tried to fly, but this is where she fell back down. She was too scared. Mostly her wings were refusing to actually fly. This is where she turns around with a very nervous kind of like look. She was all trembling, and this is where Issei says, "Don't worry, Reiner. We're going to have a little bit of fun." This is where Issei was reaching out towards Reiner. Reiner was screaming in the inside and trying to like move. She's trying to plead for any god, any devil, any Satan, or anyone. This is where she's scared of Issei, and Issei says, "Come on, don't be afraid. Why are you afraid of a human? You know you said I was just a pathetic human. I'm no longer a demonic bastard, but you can call me the heavenly demon. So, come on." This is where Issei was reaching out his hand. This is where, mostly Reiner just literally passed out in an instant, just through the fear and sheer power of pressure that Issei was releasing. But yeah, Issei looks at mostly Reiner just passing out. This is where Issei didn't even do anything. He was releasing a bit of his power, a bit of his pressure, a bit of mostly his conqueror. But yet, it wasn't enough to, not not that, enough to kind of knock people out. She was already just trembling, scared, and fear for most of her life. She was already just weak in will. She made herself weak on will, so mostly just being afraid. This is where, well, she made herself knocked out herself, not really Issei. Issei wasn't even releasing that much. This is where, well, he released it enough for mostly not for her to fly, just to kind of make her fall back down. And Issei just walk up to her, just releasing a bit in bits. But this is where, well, it was enough to just knock her out. Issei says, pathetic. Can't kill you. I want to see you tremble and fear me more. Those delicious kind of look of eyes when you just fear me more. For being nothing but a human. But I also promised someone that I couldn't kill you. Well, I should probably be going then. Issei started kind of walking away and kind of going inside to actually go to mostly the nurse's office. But this is where, well, he actually bumped into someone who had a kind of like shortish, well, not shortish, mostly medium black hair that looks to be in a bob haircut, or bull haircut, not bob, mostly bull haircut. And this is where, well, she had magenta eyes and glasses. And this is where, well, it was none other than Sona Sifri, or Sona Shitora for mostly her alias, but not the fun. But this is where, well, Sona was confused on who exactly this person is. He's not even wearing the school uniform, he doesn't care. This is where, well, Sona noticed the glasses, mostly the shades, and was confused and saying, who are you and why aren't you wearing the, well, I mean, it's already the end of the school, but why are you here? This is where, well, mostly Issei said, oh, I'm just here to pick up two of my friends from the nurse office, Sona Sifri. This is where, well, Sona says, I see, wait, how do you know my demonic name? Huh? How can I not forget your demonic name? It's me, Issei Hiro. Issei said with a very menacing tone, and this is where, well, mostly Sona widened her eyes. Issei seems to have gotten taller. Of course, his hair was different now. Mostly has now just dyed. Of course, he's wearing shades, and this is where, well, his skin became much more tannish, but not the point. Also, he's wearing like this outfit, like if he doesn't give a damn, he looks like a complete menace. This is where, well, Sona was confused in why Issei was going to the nurse office. But Issei walks past her, and this is where, well, Sona was confused, but decides to just leave it there. Just she wanted to go check on Rias, because she felt Rias' energy, mostly her magic, and was confused in why she was using it. Or, well, not really going to check on her. She was actually trying to get out of the school to kind of go to the old school building. She did not feel Rias' magic because Rias made a barrier magic so no one else kind of saw them fight. But not the point. This is where, well, when she got out of school, she noticed, well, Rias' barrage and mostly the new kind of member of Rainer kind of being all knocked out. It's been conical. This is where, well, mostly Sona widened her eyes and decided to call for mostly backup, mostly her barrage to kind of come over here and pick up what's it called, well, Rias and her barrage and what just happened. This is where, well, we go into mostly Issei going towards, well, mostly he's going towards, well, the two figures, mostly his two friends. He decides to wake them both up by just easily shocking them a little bit, by just kind of having a little device of shocking. It was like a something that he found in, what's it called, the nurse's office. Of course, where, well, Issei managed to shock both of them to wake the fuck up. This is where both of them just jolt up and say, what happened? Issei says, you two got easily knocked the fuck out. You two fell down and knocked yourself out, and someone actually picked you two up and dragged your ass back over here. That's where they says, huh? How long have we been knocked out for? Only like 5 minutes. I came over here to wake your asses up. This is where mostly they said, really? If we kinda got knocked out, wouldn't it be best to let us just rest? I did not care. Besides, would you guys really stay here for mostly the whole entire afternoon? You realize if the school gets locked up, you two will be trapped in this school, starving, but then the next day happens, you guys be smelling so bad that the girls will literally think of you as the two perverts. Well, mostly the two perverts, but to be smelling really fucking bad. This work, well, mostly both of them nodded, realizing that's a good idea to just kind of leave. Then they get up and then just kind of grab their stuff because they were right next to them. This work, and they started walking out. But before Issei walks out, he then looks towards mostly the desk, the desk of mostly the nurse, and she was already there. Mostly Issei didn't care about her and what he was doing. He really didn't pay attention too much. But this is where Issei says, so, You noticed what's it called, the fallen hybrids, and you didn't do anything, did you? This is where mostly the nurse kind of looks up and says, huh, so you do know about the supernatural, Issei Kyoto? Don't call me that. I mean, call me that, do whatever you want to call me, but that's not my real name. No more, I changed it already. So I'm guessing you're already part of the supernatural. Tell me, why didn't you just woke up both of them while using your bit of magic, nurse? This is where, Issei said. This is where, the nurse says, well, I could have, but I didn't really want the devil to come back and see them both wake up pretty much easier from their magic use. So I decided to just wait. So what happened to the Grim Reaperage? This is where, Issei looks at her dead ass seriously, and this is where Issei says, I beat the shit out of them. This is where, just to make sure that they never bother me again. This is where, mostly the nurse looks up and winds her eyes. Of course, she had glasses, and this is where she winds her eyes, never thinking that Issei would literally hurt the Grim Reaperage. Issei says, do with that information and what you want to do, but for me, I'll be out of here. Issei is now walking away. This is where, mostly the nurse kind of thinks about it, and this is where, she never thought that mostly the Red Dragon user were actually hurt, mostly the heiress of Burmery, and maybe if Lucifer heard about this, he would probably be really pissed that the Red Dragon has hurt his little sister. This is where, the nurse decided not to do that because she knows that Lucifer will probably destroy the town in a fit of rage because of his sister getting hurt. So of course, the nurse just didn't do anything. She's not a devil. She's actually not even an angel, a human, or even a fallen angel. She's something else. This is where Issei knows that she's not human, but this is where Issei starts walking away. The nurse also noticed that Issei is no longer a demon. He's no longer a demonic, half human. He's actually just human entirely. Human, but a bit of draconic, which she's confused, but this is where, she then thinks that Issei managed to remove his evil pieces by using Deidre to turn him into a dragon. This is where, she then thinks about it and says, I wonder how the White One will feel when they learn about you turning into a dragon. I haven't even met the White One. Well, I did, and they are quite interesting. Whatever. This is where, she then looks back into her phone while Issei goes up to mostly his two friends. Of course, I should mention that Issei was still hearing music the whole time when he was dealing with the grammar and everyone. So the music he was hearing was called, so mostly the song he's hearing is called Out of Control, made by, however the fuck you say all that, I don't care. And, yeah, he's just hearing the song. But of course, mostly Issei is kind of walking with both of his friends. And this is where, they actually start talking about other things, like mostly pervert things. Issei decides to sigh, and this is where, he decides to smack both of his friends in the head, and just telling them to stop being fucking perverts. For the love of fucking Jesus Christ, or maybe God's dead, I don't care. But mostly Issei says, can you both stop talking about perverted shit? You two realize that you two will not be able to grow up and actually, get a girlfriend if you two are still talking about perverted shit. This is where, they kind of scoff and say, but talking about Opa is a great. This is where he says, do that in your own fucking time. Have a group chat. We have phones. You realize that you can do that on the group chat. This is where, they got offended and says, Issei, aren't you in love with Opa? Issei says, yeah, but Opa manipulated me to becoming something that I didn't want. Well, then I became something better than being a pervert. And what's that? Becoming a pretty boy? Traitor. Issei says, he just scoffs and says, becoming a pretty boy? Please, do I look pretty to you? Actually, do not answer that. That's kind of gay if that's actually... No, don't answer that. This is where, both of them realize that, yes, wait, hold up, This is where, they realize that if they would have called Issei pretty, that means they would have been gay. This is where Issei says, do not answer that, okay? Still, Matsuda, you used to be a jock in our old school and mostly middle school. What happened for you to ever play sports? You realize if you actually decide to play more sports and actually train your body and becoming muscular back again, you probably would have got every girl after you. You realize there's girls that actually like muscleheads like you. And this is where, mostly Issei ignores what's it called, just calling Matsuda a musclehead, which she glares at Issei, but then thinks about it. This is where Issei then looks at Murahama and says, Murahama, you used to be a geek, a nerd scientist half the time in our, mostly old school, in middle school. but yet you were a genius and mostly creating a lot of stuff. What happened to that genius? I mean, you're probably still there. You were still the smartest out of all three of us, but not the point. Why do you use your mostly head to measure the girl's sizes? I mean, they're always a good idea to use it in mid-battle by kind of, well, telling the other girl what size she is and thinking she will be either flustered or just kind of try to attack you more. But that's the quite stupid idea. Use your intellections to actually see more into battle. You realize that if it wasn't for me beating the shit out of the jocks, I guess you guys were watching also. This is where both of them nodded. They actually remember how Issei literally just destroyed the jocks in an instant. He was merciless. Well, yeah, not merciless. He was merciless. He didn't give a damn about them. He crushed probably one of their spines. Destroyed the other two by using the same guy that he was holding on for a while. He didn't care. He didn't even lose like any ground towards these people. This is where, well, both of them say, but why do you keep telling us in battle? This is where, well, Issei said, easy. Do you think that they won't start trying to attack us? The jocks are probably going to get angry from the fact that I beat the shit out of 3 of them. This is where, well, mostly Issei said, think of this in your head. You two are still friends with me. Unless you two decide to, well, show the entire school that you're no longer friends with me, then no one will try to attack you guys. Mostly it will only be target me. But I'm not afraid of anyone. I'm not afraid of people, either guys or girls. I don't care if a girl slaps me. If a girl slaps me, I slap her back. Equal rights, equal fights. Besides, girls who want equality. So, these hands are rated E for everything, or G for gender neutral. This is where they are shocked to believe Issei will slap a girl if a girl slaps Issei. Like, Issei is a menace time half the time. He does not give a damn. This is where, well, mostly they kind of look at Issei and says, but wouldn't that make girls kind of hate you more? Issei says, yes, that would. But there's some that are quite, how should I say, masochists somewhat, if you know what I mean. Oh. How do you, this is not the point. Still, are you guys willing to change, or do you want me to make sure you guys change? This is where, well, they say, what if we don't want to change? Issei says, then I have a better idea for you guys to change. This is where, well, both of them were knocked down an instant by Issei by using a bit of his conqueror's, mostly will upon them. And this is where, well, Issei then kind of appeared, well, mostly a black car appeared next to them. And this is where, well, mostly Issei says, well, I'll make you two change and look into my world and how everything affects me. This is where, well, we go into a time skip of the next day happening. Now, mostly Issei, Matsuda, and Muhammad did not show up, but we go into mostly where they were at. This is where, well, Matsuda and Muhammad were shocked, horrified at the mostly images and thoughts they actually saw through mostly Issei, mostly mind. They found out that the supernatural was real. They also found out that Issei is a secret gear user, a human secret gear user who has a dragon longitis, who's a medium tier, but not the point. He also has, well, mostly became a very powerful underlord. Now, they realize that Issei is a criminal, and his actual, mostly real name now is no longer Issei Hyora, but Doflamingo. Wait, yeah. Donquixote Doflamingo, that's his black name. His last name is Donquixote, while his first name is Doflamingo, but not the point. This is where, well, mostly they nodded and realized that they saw all this and can no longer go back into a peaceful, normal, permanent life, because they are actually friends with Issei. When Issei came back, they were still considered friends. So of course people probably would have saw that and probably noticed that Issei was definitely the same person like the criminal boss. This is where, well, they realized that they had to change. So what they did is actually starts kind of, well, changing. Mostly not slowly, but mostly slowly but surely. But of course they started kind of becoming less perverts in mostly about a week. So a week time skip has passed, and mostly the 2 perverts hasn't shown up. Now of course Matsuda is doing crazy training to make his body stronger. When he was actually training himself really hard, he was basically in a gym, mostly in a gym that's basically mostly owned by Issei, because Issei managed to own a gym because the people who borrowed money from him built this gym but never paid Issei back. So Issei came back and decided to take their shit because they never paid him back for the money that they own. But yeah, so of course mostly Matsuda is just training in this gym. Now this gym is not very public, it's not very shown, but of course there's a lot of equipment that are quite new in this gym, allowing mostly Matsuda to train really hard. But of course mostly this gym is actually used by other criminals who are actually working under Issei. Now mostly these criminals are called family, or mostly family members. It's not like they're not just considered to be just like criminals or whatever. They're actually those who are kind of like higher or medium ranked in Issei's criminal organization are called family members. And of course mostly Matsuda and Murahama are no exception, but they're still training to become stronger and of course change and maybe be able to get a girlfriend, but at the same time they don't want to be manipulated by that girl, just like how Issei was. So of course mostly they are just trained like hell. But this is where Matsuda was able to activate a sacred gear. You see here, Matsuda was training really hard, of course, pushing his limits by punching a brick over and over and over and over. He was basically, not a brick, he was punching a metal kind of plate over and over and over just so he can make his fists a lot stronger. So his punches can actually be able to take out devils, either that being low class or medium class. But this is where, well, Matsuda managed to activate two sacred gears. Mostly these two interesting sacred gears. So mostly the first sacred gear that he actually managed to awaken is actually considered to be a Longitis. But yeah, mostly a new Longitis that he managed to kind of made by his own training. But it's called Adaptation. Now, Adaptation is actually mostly, it's not two, but it's actually a sacred gear for mostly his eyes. So mostly he's able to kind of adapt to anything, like through fights. Mostly he will be able to see the movements of people who are fighting him. Either martial arts or magic, he will be able to adapt through anything. So mostly those are his, mostly eyes. His eyes actually changed. So mostly his original eyes were actually yellow because he always had them closed, but one of them turned blue in an instant. So yeah, he now has his hair a little bit kind of letting out to be grow. So yeah. Well, mostly both of his eyes are now allowing him to kind of have like the Sharingan a little bit, but not the point. But his eyes are also kind of slick at the same time. He can activate them, they become slick, similar to that of a wolf, because mostly his sacred gear allows him to actually also have a balance breaker that might be able to turn into a wolf. Not the point, because wolves do kind of adapt to a lot of things pretty fast, but not the point. But mostly it's a Longitis, but in tier entirely, it's actually, well, so yeah, mostly it's the Longitis tier is actually quite difficult to find out, but it will be able to adapt to that of mostly the tiers. So right now it's a Longitis low tier, but over time it might be able to become a high tier, just over time, because adaptation is actually quite a new sacred gear that mostly Matsuda was able to awaken. But I said he has two sacred gears. So the other sacred gear is called So the other sacred gear is called Monsterization, but mostly this like sacred gear allows him to kind of transform into a monster somewhat. Not like a monster, like one of those creatures that are usually like straight devils or any of that. No, this monster can go actually transform into that of, well, mostly that to surpass his limits somewhat. It will kind of transform, well, not monsterization, no. You know what, it is called monsterization. Mostly this kind of sacred gear is a little bit common with other sacred gears, because mostly it allows the user to transform into the monster they're actually thinking about. But it will allow them to kind of transform into, well, mostly not a monster, but a specific type of animal sometimes. But mostly the animal will usually turn into a monster somewhat. So yes, that's why it's called monsterization. Now, this monsterization actually allows him to transform into a werewolf with his eyes still being activated, the Longitis, the adaptation. And of course, it allowed him to actually adapt to any monsterization that he wants to transform into. And allow him to actually also get this very powerful boost in him. But yeah, of course, well, he doesn't really care and mind about it. But of course, the monsterization does kind of give him mostly lower down his stamina a lot. But yeah, Of course, this is where he doesn't use it too often. Adaptation does also lower down his stamina, but it's not made out of magic, so of course he doesn't really need to train on his magic. Well, mostly if he wants to train on his magic, it will be magic resistance. So yeah, even if he goes into this monetization, he still has very high, well, not high defenses with magic, but high defenses with strength. Well, like high defenses from damage, from like physical damage, not magical. So he would need to train in actually either dodging magic attacks with his eyes or just taking the head on with his monetization when he transforms into it. But yeah. Of course, we go into, well, Murahama. That's Matsuda's kind of training. Murahama is actually mostly like a scientist. Now, not a scientist entirely. He is a mage slash scientist, but this is where, well, he mostly trains in reading upon mostly mages and how they fight and how they use magic, and also how mostly chemicals and science and other shit might help in battle also. So of course, mostly he's right now in a laboratory, but also kind of training on his magic later on. But this is where, well, he activated mostly a sacred gear. The sacred gear is called evolution. Now the sacred gear evolution allows him to kind of evolve, mostly through his skin. His skin, every time he gets damaged, it will be able to evolve to become something else, well, mostly something tougher. It will still look the same, but mostly the atoms and organization in his, well, not organization, mostly is, yeah, organs and other shit will adapt to mostly the strike of the hit. Now he has to make it become a lot faster and other things, but not the point. But it also, mostly evolution allows him to have armor on half the time. Now this armor isn't heavy, it would just evolve over time, but never become dense and heavy half the time. Well, I mean, he will allow to become dense over time if he wants to just become slower to a tank, but not the point. Well, yeah. But mostly, this sacred gear also, mostly he has that sacred gear, and it's not, well, it's a longitis if he actually uses it properly. But evolution also allows him not just armor, but also to evolve in mostly other things. Like his mind can evolve to becoming, well, mostly to expand the memories to make it much bigger. So the knowledge that he learns and spells and other things, evolution will allow him to actually evolve those magic spells to become stronger. So yeah, that is a longitis tier. But of course, the tier is also quite iffy with mostly adaptation with mostly Matsuda. So yeah. Of course, well, that is mostly the sacred gear he has for evolution. That's evolution, but he also has another sacred gear, but it's mostly a, how should I say? So yeah, that's how, we'll see, he also has a second one, but it's not a sacred gear, it's actually more like a contract. He actually managed to get a contract with mostly a serpent. A serpent that was actually called, well, mostly the serpent that he managed to get a contract was actually called Manda. Now this serpent was quite big and powerful, and of course the serpent was quite evil also, but not the point. But of course he actually wanted to make his kind of body kind of become similar to that of like snake scales, because snakes are quite powerful. Mostly their scales are quite powerful. They're similar to that of a dragon, but not the point. But this is where, well, he has that. Now, he also does kind of experiment his body a little bit just to kind of make sure that his body's strong enough to resist a lot of things, but not the point. Mostly evolution allows mostly Murahama to experiment himself. So let's say that Murahama wanted to kind of inject himself with a chemical that allows him to become fire resistant. With evolution, it allows him to actually make his body become fire resistant. But over time, when he trains with keep like hitting himself with either fire spells, mostly his body will now be able to kind of make its body become fire resistant to higher tiers of level. So he'll be able to one day probably like stand up to the sun's surface. That's how powerful the evolution might affect him. But yeah. So of course, he one time just injected him with like serpent's kind of like mostly not venom. Well, kind of venom. He kind of did that. But of course, mostly the venom mostly went up through mostly his teeth. He actually can actually produce venom from his mouth if he ever bites someone. Mostly he can also like stop the venom so it wouldn't affect others that he might accidentally do in sexual stuff, but not the point. So he doesn't actually kill someone when he's doing it. But yeah, but not the point. But he only did that just in case he would ever need to bite someone. which mostly he also needed to kind of improve his jawline, so mostly he would be able to pierce people. But yeah, just out of mostly he kind of did watch an anime like Orochimaru, but Orochimaru went after kids, so of course he's not going to do that. Yeah, he's not Matsuda's perverted fetish or whatever the hell it was again. So yeah. But of course, we'll see Murahama's doing that. So we go back into Issei. Issei is actually doing other businesses. He's creating more businesses for his organization. But yeah. But of course, mostly he just creates more businesses that are wild, but not the point. He's right now kind of like drinking alcohol while like doing some of these businesses because he gets tired enough with mostly paperwork. But yeah. But of course, after a while, he actually went to check on mostly Matsuda and Murahama. Now, Murahama is still experimenting on himself, and of course, he also does realize that evolution can actually be able to, well, he can actually make vials of him, well, mostly evolution vials, to actually be able to involve others. But yeah, of course, he found out that could be the case. Maybe he can help mostly Matsuda in his problems. But yeah. Now, Matsuda actually, well, that's what Issei went to check on that, which mostly Issei thought of that being a great idea for drugs, because he realized that mostly Murahama can actually experiment on a lot of things. If evolution can actually become a good drug that allows mostly people to kind of become involved into like a supernatural, or not supernatural, mostly like a superhuman or something, which mostly he thought that would be a good idea. It could be good in selling that in the black market, which mostly he asked mostly Murahama how many he can make. Mostly Murahama said that he can probably make over like 10 a day, but of course he will tire after a while, because mostly it's a little bit of his own blood kind of put into the kind of pills. Doesn't work well. Mostly he says, as I see, what if you inject it with another thing, with evolution? Even though the blood is not with me inside my body, it will still be able to evolve, but it will only take like 30 seconds. Like a person, if they digest this kind of pill, they will only be able to go into whatever I inject the ability. Let's say like I gave the blood a little bit of boar blood, it will turn them into a boar for only 30 seconds, and then after that 30 seconds their body will not be able to contain the power a little bit, and then go back to being a normal human, but then having mostly some instincts and some mostly defects to allowing them to probably become a boar entirely, or not becoming a boar, but mostly having the instincts similar to have a boar, so they would become mindless like a boar, but they would still be human. This is where he said, not see, that'll be a good drug, but I don't want mostly the product to accidentally kill someone. I want them to at least be able to have more, well, give me more money when we sell these products. That's a good idea. I mean, well, not fully wanted to have a longer timer, because that would be bad. I want a product that's actually fully complete to allow us to be able to evolve, mostly those who are under me, to evolve to become stronger during missions when they have to go do that. But to others, it would be a good idea to sell them a default kind of, mostly default kind of effect, so they would never be able to kind of evolve on missions that might try to attack us. Does it work well? Mostly Murahama nodded and says, I see. So, we're mostly Matsuda, well, not Matsuda, Murahama goes up and says, so are we gonna go to school on mostly next week, or Issei thinks about it and says, maybe not. I really don't like going to school, and of course dealing with the devils is just terrible. This is where mostly Matsuda nodded, or not Matsuda, Murahama nodded and says, that is true, and with my secret here, it could be a problem with the devils. Yep. This is where mostly Issei starts walking away and saying, well, I'm gonna go check on Matsuda. This is where Murahama nodded. This is where Issei gets to see where Matsuda's at. He's at a gym, and this is where, well, he's right now punching a, what's it called, metal like plate. Now this metal plate has become thicker after a while, because the last time we were just punching a kind of like skinny one. Now he's punching a thicker one. Now it's like 1 inch thicker. This is where, well, he keeps punching it, but of course he's being able to indent the metal plate. This is where, well, he was able to actually though the last punch before he actually was about to take a break because his music was actually like about to turn off after a while. But of course, well, he sent the last punch, and of course it goes through this to well. We'll see. Matsuda says, "Okay, that's good to know that I can be able to punch through 1 inch of steel. Next for my other plate, but first I gotta let my skin kind of heal. Thanks to Monster Relation, it actually allows me to kind of evolve similar to that of mostly Murahama's evolution. Still, I gotta really train these eyes so I can be able to fight when I have to go to hand-to-hand combat." This is where mostly Issei says, "Yo." This is where mostly Matsuda looks over and sees Issei. Now, of course, where Issei says, "Well, that's a lot of blood, isn't that?" This is where mostly Matsuda looks down and says, "Oh yeah, I forgot. Sorry, I'll ask someone else to clean that." This is where Issei says, "No, it's fine. So, how is your training in punching 1 inch steel metal?" "Pretty good. I managed to make a hole. Now I gotta go on for like 2 inch or other stuff. I also gotta train my relation so I can actually be able to train on stamina." "That is true. Adaptation eyes will actually be pretty helpful when you're gonna have to go to hand-to-hand combat with devils. Either those are rooks, bishops, or even knights, and some pawns in some cases. Maybe the queen and king. But not the point. This is where Issei swings in his hand, mostly one finger towards mostly how should I say Matsuda. Matsuda managed to dodge. His eyes activated in an instant. This is where he managed to dodge. They just made them, he managed to know what mostly when Issei swings this finger once towards him, he knows what is going to happen. A string actually appears, mostly what he managed to see is a tiny string managed to cut, the steel plate metal behind him pretty easy, like it was nothing. It was just cut like it was just a piece of butter. This is where, Issei kind of smirks at it was a caw. "Well, Matsuda says, 'God damn it. How are you this strong?' This is where Issei says, 'I trained for 1 month. You guys only trained for a week. But your guys' progress was much better than I was. Kinda. I managed to kind of figure out something about that. I managed to figure out that, do you remember about my reincarnation? Or incarnation?' 'Oh yeah, I forgot. Doflamingo was another person from a different world.' And of course, we did see some things about that. Exactly. I met my mostly incarnation when I was actually angry and annoyed at how devils dared to try to use me as their puppet. But instead, I met this incarnation of me, and of course, the incarnation told me about what he is entirely. Mostly the reincarnation of that person, blah blah blah. Well, of course, mostly figuring out all that, I also decided to become a criminal boss. Work up my organization with mostly businesses and other things. I might have to scam a couple of people, which I didn't care, because, who the fuck is gonna stop me, and who the fuck is able to see the strings? Mostly, Matsuda says, but I can see the strings. Other than you, who do you think will be able to dodge my string attacks? This is where, Matsuda says, no one else, unless they have the same eyes as me. Exactly. Now, how's your training anyway? So, like I said, it's pretty good. You think you'll be okay to go to school? Ah, shit, school. Oh, God, that's gonna be a pain. What the hell do I tell my parents, and why the fuck I haven't been there for 1 week? Just tell them that you've been working, you've been having a job. Besides, I'll give you like an envelope of money. Besides, I also gotta check on my parents about what they've been doing. But I might check on them later on. Okay. Well, I'll be training more. Issei says, yeah, sure. Issei kind of walks away, and this is where, mostly, Issei kind of just walks toward as the next thing that he needs to do. This is where, he kind of calls upon someone on his phone, and it's none other than this person that it kind of says on his phone is named Virgo. This is where, mostly Issei says, hello, Virgo. Can you meet me up at this place? This is where, mostly the other person on the other side says, yes, sir, I can. This is where, mostly, they meet up at mostly a part of what's it called? A part of the gym, and of course, mostly Virgo says, yes, do you need something, my lord? This is where he says, yes, I want you to actually train Matsuda in mostly hand-to-hand combat. Also train him in how to use hammer and hawking. Oh, is that what I need to be doing now? Yes, but that'll be next week when mostly we go back to school. Well, mostly not next week, this weekend. He's right now able to punch you metal, mostly just metal by just his straight hands. But for right now, we need to train him even further. Virgo says, I see. So, who's going to train Murahama? Murahama would be, Murahama is being trained by none other than Law. Trafalgar Law, because Law needs to kind of, talk to someone else who is actually scientific or whatever. Because Law would try to bother me with a lot of other stuff, but not the point. This is where Virgo nodded. This is where, he said he did call upon Law, and Law says, fine, I'll do it. Do you see I was doing something else? Being a sergeant? Yes. Okay, whatever. This is where, mostly Issei gets back, mostly he was about to go back to his office, until he decides to take a detour, and decides to walk around Kuo. He didn't really care. This is where, who's going to really mess with him? He's also walking like, Dofi from, One Piece. That one time when Dofi just started walking, like, let me show you. Pretty much this is how Issei was walking around the entire, place. Yeah, my boy Dofi walking like that. But not the point. So of course, mostly Issei was walking like that around the whole town, and of course, he was just not really caring that much. Of course, mostly he kind of heard something in the forest, like someone was like breathing out really hard or something, like if they were in the middle of a fight or something. So of course, Issei went to go check it out. And of course, when Issei went to go check it out, he sees, Kiba. Kiba is right now training, really hard. This is where, not Kiba. It's not Kiba. It's actually not someone training, but this is where, he finds a girl who seems to be quite battered, like a blackish hair girl with kind of like these blackish ears. Of course, this is where, she has two tails, and this is where, she's right now really battered. But of course, this is where, she also has kind of longish black hair, but not the point. This is where, she has a black sword with her, and of course, where, her clothes are kind of ripped. Now, there's like these other kind of beings kind of around her, being someone like fallen angels, and kind of saying, well, it seems that we managed to catch you, Blake. This is where, they're about to say mostly this girl's last name, but this is where, mostly they were cut off in an instant, literally. Their heads were almost cut off, all of them. This is where one guy managed to duck out of instant. This is where, he was confused, but he was actually a fallen angel with 4 wings. The girl was actually tired and confused. This is where she had yellow eyes and was very confused. He said, what the? It says it's quite pathetic to see a bunch of crows attack. I want to say Nekamaru. I don't know what the hell you are entirely. Don't care. This is where, the fallen angel says, hey, who are you? He says, who am I? Well, I'm the man who's going to show you what a true heavenly demon is. Yeah. This is where, mostly the fallen angel says, screw you then! He tries to pierce Issei with a light spear until Issei grabs that shit and then snaps it right in front of the person. The person winding their eyes, but before they can even dodge, they get their neck grabbed and instant by Issei, saying, you're quite pathetic, now die. Issei snaps their neck in an instant, throwing them out of the way. Of course, this is where they turn to nothing but feathers after a while. This is where Issei looks down at mostly the blackish hair girl and says, can you walk or what? This is where, she nods slowly, but then she actually passes out. Issei notices and just sighs. Decides to pick up the girl and actually walks away. Now, when they get towards mostly a office, or mostly not an office, a kind of hospital, but it's owned by Issei, and this is where, Issei kind of goes inside and just tells the people to kind of bring her to a room, and of course not to let her out too easily. He will need to talk to her and why those crows were actually attacking her. This is where, 4 kind of mostly 2 doctors actually appear, and even 4 nurses, and of course they took her away. Issei kind of just walk away, and of course they tell them to call him. Of course, where, if she was acting rowdy or something. This is where, mostly the doctors nodded. Issei walks away. Mostly he uses the string to actually attach it to a mostly cloud up in the sky and starts just flying straight towards where he needed to be. He didn't need to do this, but he was just tired of walking. But yeah, he got to the place and where he wanted to be at, and it was mostly his office. Now he goes into the building, walks downstairs because there is an underground, and he gets to his office. This is where, Issei starts kind of writing what he needs to do. But yeah, He's a little bit bored, but then again, what else? What else can he do? He can make more money. He's a criminal boss. If he kind of do these damn papers, then he would keep making money. But not the point. He might have to kill some people because he actually seen some of the rat paper that's been kind of flooding his other side of his desk. He only puts those papers if there's rats trying to ask for more money than ever. This is where, well, he says, well, I should probably get someone to kill them. Or maybe I should kill them. Let's see. Maybe I'll do it later. Whatever. But we go into a time skip of not Issei's POV, but mostly we go into Sona's POV. When Sona wanted to ask what's called Rias and her barrage and what happened, they mostly tried to lie to her, but this is where Kiba actually interrupted them, saying that it was mostly their fault for actually attacking Issei. Issei changed because of something happened. He doesn't know much, but he just told what's it called Sona the truth. This is where, well, Rias just seems betrayed in an instant by Kiba. But Kiba actually's attitude changed entirely after Issei telling him to train and become stronger to actually fight against mostly whatever revenge he needs. Because mostly Issei noticed that Kiba's eyes held a lot of revenge, even though he really didn't try to show it. But yeah. But of course, with that happening, we kind of go back into Issei. Issei is now been 2 days later, but of course it's now the school day. He's tired not to go to school day because he doesn't give a damn too much. He actually was planning to probably just skip it, but then again, he noticed that Matsuda and Morohama also felt like skipping it, so of course, well, Issei did want to kind of just torture them a little bit more, but of course he was just thinking what to do. But this is actually where I'm going to leave it off for part 2 of this what if. Other than that, bye, saying yeah. But I'm tired, I'm going to go to sleep probably. I might do something else, maybe. Other than that, bye, saying yeah.